meeting, 7:04. The Town of Ashford Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, May 12th, again, starting approximately 7:04. A regular meeting held virtually. We will start with the calling to order. And again, I do see 5 current members, myself, Mark, Nord, Jerry, and Stephen. And again, we have no alternates to seat to fill that in, and hopefully Janet will be able to join us soon. And Mike, if just sing out, or Cheyenne, I'm sorry, sing out if you see Janet come on board. All right, first order of business, approval of minutes of our April 14th, 2025. Does anyone have a motion to approve?
So moved.
From Jerry, thank you.
I'll second that.
Nord seconds that. Any discussion on the minutes and their contents? Hearing none, I seek a vote to approve for a vote to approve the minutes of the April 14th meeting.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? Carries 5-0. Very good. Thank you. Opening the meeting up to public comment. And again, public comment for most items except for those dealing with the public hearing for tonight. As we'll have that discussion for the public hearing. Does anyone have anything to share? Okay. Mr. Krieger? Yes, I see your electric hand. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the last minutes were not posted to the website as far as I could see.
Yeah, we had an issue with the electronic, the video recording is up there, but we did have an issue with the written minutes. But I believe, Mike, did we get a chance to speak to the town clerk today?
I didn't. She was tied up when I checked in, but I sent them to her as a backup.
As long as you're aware, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we did have a delay.
So, it's Mark Schnobel. So the town clerk didn't accept the written minutes because they were missing the date at the top. So Cheyenne provided those to me today, so I'll get those to her tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Little typo, but again, the video record was posted shortly after the meeting. Anything else from public comment? Not seeing an electronic hand or anyone waving at me. We'll move on from public comment. Bills presented. We had a bill of $331.16 from the Chronicle, probably for our posting of the hearing for tonight. Anything else received, Mike? Probably not.
Nope, just that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions on bills? Okay, let me ask a question. Any of those that you attended the dinner for the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Land Use? If you did or did not submit your expense, please get that in so we can get it into this fiscal year. Jerry?
I can't find my statement I put it on my credit card and I can't find my statement, so I have no receipt for that.
Do you have a electronic version of your receipt from your credit card or activity?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, there's still time. We still have into July 1st before that. So if you get a copy of that.
I'll have to call them and see if I can get a copy.
Yeah, believe me, I've lost a receipt in the past and have had to call, I believe, them in the past, and they were able to provide you with something.
Okay.
Okay, Thank
Great.
you. That goes also for the training session. I think everyone that attended the training session did submit their material, and we were able to submit their reimbursement for that. So, correspondence. Okay. There was a letter from Senator Jeff Gordon for our district regarding a House Bill 6831 that is posted to the record.
Jeff,
And
I just admitted Janet.
oh, excellent. Let me just go back here. Hello, Janet.
Hi, thank you. Apologize for being late.
Not a problem. Mike did a mathematical correction for me, so we were good to start. Thank you.
Okay.
So, again, the letter, in a nutshell, as opposed to spending the time reading through it, really has to do with some requirements and some special prioritization of those towns that seek to have public transportation when it comes to gaining grants and such. And the public transportation is in response to housing and having the ability to develop areas of public transportation and housing, which kind of go hand in hand. If you have public transportation lines, you tend to be able to have more concentrated housing and development, and those types of developments that allow for increase in potentially affordable housing. And Senator Gordon's input is that he's just trying to be sure that everything is fair when it comes to that towns are not deprioritized who don't have a plan of development or a likelihood for a developer coming in and putting in uh, or require such development that gets them the public housing and the more concentrated housing in a situation like that. So he's working with not only the committee that put together the House bill, but also trying to work with the Connecticut community groups, the NECOG and CROG and other such groups, in order to again, make it fair and equitable, that smaller towns aren't deprioritized when it comes to grants and such if they're seeking sewer or other types of public development. Any questions or comments on the letter or my poor explanation of it?
I think that was a pretty good explanation of it, and it's worth following the bill and finding out more about it, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Janet.
Mhm.
Okay, hearing no more comment on that, we'll move on and call the public hearing together. The public hearing section is on PZ-25-1, special permit application per section 300-17C to allow for alcohol consumption on an outdoor patio and live entertainment at 196 Chady Road, known as Westford Hill Distillers. Owner applicant Lewis and Margaret Chady. How the hearing will run is simply we'll ask for an opening statement from the applicant. We will then seek questions and clarifications by the commissioners. We'll then have a section open to the public for public comment. And for public comments, please be directed to the commission and more directly to the chair when you are speaking. And please keep your comments to under 5 minutes. We'll then allow for potential further responses or potential questions that are generated from the public comment to be addressed by the applicant, a final statement by the applicant, And then ideally, unless there's information that is requested or required and causes us to extend the hearing, we would either extend the hearing or close the hearing. So to that end, we will open this up. I'm taking it that Margaret is Margaret Chady and Louis Chady. And if you folks would like to start as applicant, and oh, I'm sorry, it does say Margaret Chady. I have another Margaret here. Too many boxes. Would the Chadys like to make a statement about their application? If you're making a statement, you're still on mute.
There you go.
Okay. You've
There
got
you
Louis Chady here tonight. Margaret's elsewhere making another presentation.
Oh, okay. Thank
So
you.
we operate Westford Hill Distillers, as you mentioned, at 196 Chady Road here in town, property that's been in the family for 106 years. We permitted as a distilled spirits plant in 1997 and operate under the federal designation of that as a distilled spirits plant. With the state, we're recognized as a manufacturer of spirits, another permit, and we produce a wide range of distilled spirits here. We feel we've been a very good neighbor in the past 28 years of operation. We've never received any complaints from any neighbors or anywhere about any of our operations or activities here. We also have an excellent standing with the State Liquor Control Board. We have had no violations with them, and in fact, they use our facility when they're training new recruits to show them what compliance looks like with regards to distilled spirit plants. In addition, we also host Yukon classes here. They're organic chemistry, fruit science, ag engineering, all come out every year for lectures here on distillation. And we've become a gathering place for the community, having supported the library for many years, Ashford Arts, the Historical Society, Democratic Town Committee, the Ashford School, and Wyndham Hospital, having their fundraisers here as well. During COVID, we switched our operation over to hand sanitizer, supplying Wyndham Hospital, 3 convalescent homes, many doctors' offices, and our own post office here in town, free of charge with hand sanitizers. In addition, we've really been sort of an ad hoc ambassador for the town of Ashford, having appeared in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today. Bon Appetit magazine selected us in the best of the U.S., and the Smithsonian selected us to represent craft distillation as part of their History of Food series. We operate under very strict federal and state laws, the federal laws being very consistent, the state laws being very fluid. Just about every session with regards to liquor control laws change. I know we've been mentioned as in this forum as a farm distillery, and in fact, that's a designation that only lasted 1 year before they repealed that. So we are as I said, a manufacturer of spirits now. It used to be that for 2 years to renew our permit, we required fire inspections. That has changed. We don't longer have to do that. One law that did affect us was about 7 years ago. They allowed us to do direct sales and tastings to the public, much as wineries and breweries do. And that's when we opened our tasting room about 7 years ago, which is open seasonally, May through December, and just on weekends for half days. Part of this is we have an outdoor seating area. We now have to have fire marshal approval for that, and we also have to have zoning approval for that, which is the reason we're making application here tonight. It's called an extension of use on our permit. It's not called a patio. That would be a restaurant, but an extension of use. And while we're doing this, we're also applying for live music. And I want to reinforce that this is live acoustic music. So we're not going to be hosting rock bands here in loud music. The board has all of our application electronically. all the forms and the site plans, and any impacts. And that concludes my opening statement.
Okay, thank you, Louis. So I will open it up to the commissioners at this point. Does anyone have any specific questions for Mr. Chady?
How does the parking for the people that are attending?
We maintain a parking lot in front of the facility, just off of Chady Road. And we maintain parking for roughly about 50 cars. Oh, here we go. Unfortunately, our parking lot is just outside of this. You see where it says guest entrance? If you were to go towards the bottom of the picture, you'll see the walkway that comes up from the driveway. It's roughly about 100 feet from the facility.
Okay. Thank you.
When we do, to further clarify, when we do host larger events like Ashford Arts, the field, which is mowed, becomes extension parking for that event.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And you see here the proposed area, it's a 24 by 30 area as our outdoor seating area.
Just one other question. What do you do in case of rain?
We have very limited seating inside. We can seat about 16 people inside of our tasting room,
Okay,
where we have seating in there. And then outside, roughly about 30 seats in that area.
that's all I have for questions.
Thank you, Jerry. Any questions from other commissioners? So, okay, so Louis, I just have a couple for clarification here. So specifically the need to amend the current permit has to do with the live music
And the accepting the outdoor seating,
and the
or
outdoor seating,
extended use, I should say.
extended use. Yep.
Yeah. And this is to bring us in compliance with state law.
Right.
And that's what generated this whole application process.
Mhm. And that was the state liquor control requiring
Correct,
that?
yes.
Okay. And you had mentioned that a fire marshal review, has that taken place?
Not for the patio. This is the first step is zoning and then fire marshal.
Okay.
Charlie Sweetland has been out here because for 2 years he had to approve it in order for us to renew our permit. Obviously, going forward for this, he has to come back out and approve the patio space.
And is there a frequency on that? Is it annually or every 2
No.
years also? No?
No, just it's a one-time application
Oh, okay.
at this point. But we will be bringing the fire marshal out yearly anyway for inspections of the facility by nature of what we do. It just makes sense.
Sure. Sure. Um, and effectively, I just want to be clear for the members also, besides the acceptance of the application, and I do this just because once bitten, twice shy, Louis. You're also seeking a waiver of requirements under the special permit section, which is in the purview of the commission of sections 323, Article 3, Section D, items 3A through O which is a lot of requirements for something that you really don't need to do for
Mhm.
such an application. That's correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And I just remind the board members under E that we can waive such requirements by a 2/3 vote of the commission um, to do so. And we are talking about things such as soil types and forested areas and proposed surface and subsurface drainage. I mean, everything. I liken it to the Zen Leaf application where they also sought exemptions due to the fact that they were making absolutely no changes to the outside of the building or anything that was already there. They were simply putting in their application for the use of the location, similar to this situation here. So, you've completed. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners before we turn? Yes, Janet.
Well, I'd just like to make sure, Louis, that you're not really asking to do anything that you haven't done in the past. You need this done because the state requirements have changed.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
hmm
And again, as you stated, you've had no issues and have done the outdoor concerts and such. You've had no issues whatsoever from any of the abutters or anything to the point of actually having a uh, Carl Zulik, I believe, sent a letter on your behalf, and that's part of the record also, supporting your activities.
Yes.
So, um, any other comments from the commission? Okay. Now we open it up to the public for comments. Any comments from folks attending? Yes, Jessica.
Hi,
Please state your name and your address in Ashford, please, for the record.
absolutely. Hi, my name's Jessica Bates. I live actually at 113 Shady Road. My husband and I have lived here for approximately 18 years. I'm here tonight actually to express my concerns about this application. I am in the neighborhood of Westford Distillers. We're on the other side of Carl Zulick's parcel of land. And you're right, we have never complained about it. But we definitely 100% hear what goes on at the distillery. The live music concerns at the Westford Hill Distillers, I think has the potential to change how this area is. I do know there is an email in support of the application from Carl Zulik, but I also know he owns a wooded lot without a residential house on it. And in the 18 years that I have lived here, I think I've seen a vehicle on that lot maybe 1 or 2 times. So, there's a number of questions that I have in regards to this application that I don't know were fully vetted out either by the application or the discussion earlier this morning or earlier today. The one that I have the biggest question regarding is alcohol going to be served at this location or is it going to be sold at this location? The permit just really is kind of silent with regards to that. So will people be going there and purchasing alcohol and drinking drink after drink after drink after drink after drink, and then driving around past my house and everything else? Or, is it largely as it is there now? I don't see anything in the application that discusses how many times a year there will be live music at the location. Is this going to be as it is now with, 1 or 2 a year? Or is this going to be every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single weekend, moving forward? I did hear that earlier this evening that the music will be acoustic only. I would just like to really get that in the record that it will be only acoustic. But, you know, similarly to that, will the music abide by the state regulations for noise ordinances? I know Ashford does not have a noise ordinance, but the state does. And there are regulations with regards to that. So is the music going to be adhering to those regulations? You know, how will the sound be monitored so that, you know, it's not very loud every single night of the, you know, that the distillery is open? You know, this, sorry, I lost my place.
That's okay. That's okay.
You know, as I stated previously, we have heard the music, but it hasn't been every single weekend. You know, I know the parking surface that we're speaking of, and I have been here when they've had the larger events, and the parking is a problem. The traffic is a problem. Getting through Shady Road is a problem. You know, I see, or I heard earlier this evening that they're only anticipating 46 or so patrons to these events, but you know, that was not anywhere in the application that we could not review prior to now. And I guess, you know, I really do have a little bit of a hesitation regarding the parking facility on site. You know, there is a large field that looks to be very susceptible to rain inundation. And I know that if you increase the patrons coming to this field after any sort of event, that water event, rainstorm, you know, regardless of what duration storm that is, it would significantly increase the probability of having erosion and sedimentation issues and any sort of rutting or anything else on the land. So I have some hesitancy as to whether or not there is any stormwater impacts as a result of this application. You know, I kind of part and parcel to how the alcohol is going to be served and monitored. You know, is there going to be any food available for the patrons of the facility while they're there drinking, or will they just be knocking them back and then, you know, heading out on the roadways? So on the weekends when we're walking around and actually trying to enjoy living in Ashford. So those are really my primary concerns, you know, with the application. I don't have a problem with a distillery. Like I said, we've been here 18 years. I just don't feel like the information was all presented in a manner that, you know, checked all the boxes for what is actually going to be happening there and the frequency in which something will be happening there moving forward. So, you know, in light of those considerations, you know, I respectfully urge the commission to thoroughly evaluate the potential impacts of permitting this on the site, you know, to let us know, those that, you know, also live in the area, what the, you know, frequency, timing, and volume of the live music events are going to be moving forward. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your input. Paul Varga.
Hi, Commissioner Smith and other commissioners. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm in a weird spot. So,
It's fine.
okay. I just want to say, first of all, for those who don't know, 368 Zychek Road is my residence. And as most of you know, I'm also the fire chief in town. Margaret and Lou have operated the distillery for a number of years as my neighbors. Never, ever have we had a problem. What they're applying for is nothing more than to meet the legal requirements that the state of Connecticut changed somewhere during the last legislative session. I myself have visited the distillery, both in the course of being the fire chief for inspections, and also as a patron. It's a great place to go and visit, and it's a great business in town. I fully support the application. I don't think they're changing anything. Also, as an aside, I operate a large farm in town, and I operate equipment on that road all summer long, Chatty Road and Zychek Road, and I have never had a problem with traffic in and out of Westford Hill Distilleries. And I can't remember the hours because, quite frankly, I go by it all the time, but don't pay that much attention. But they're not open late at night. Nobody's in there knocking them back and leaving drunk. That's never been a problem at all. So I just want to say again, I fully support it. I think they're a great business. They're a great advocate for the town of Ashford and a great advocate for agriculture in the town of Ashford. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, this is Carl Zulik speaking.
Yes, Mr. Zulik, go right ahead.
Hi, I know you got my email and I
Yes.
appreciate you taking it. I just want to also express my support for the distillery and for the Chadies. They've been great neighbors for as long as I've owned the property. I know Jessica said I'm not there much and I don't live there, but I'll be there this week. And never had any issues. I too have enjoyed the business. My family from town and from Wellington and friends from Mansfield enjoy it, and I think it's good for the town. I like to see local business. I like to see a tax base for Ashford to keep our taxes down and everything. And I guess I've expressed my support in the letter, but I just wanted to let you hear my voice and know that I don't see any issues. I've been there many times and have not had any problems at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hello,
Okay.
this is Mark Pelletier.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead. Mr. Pelletier, is
Hello,
it?
this is, yes,
Okay,
I'm an abutting neighbor of the Chadies. I live
Okay.
on 306 Chady Road. I'm
that
on
was
the
what,
west
I'm
side.
sorry, I'm sorry, was that
behind you.
306?
306, correct.
Thank you.
And I've never had any issues with any sound or traffic whatsoever of what they've been doing over there at their distillery. And I fully support their plans going forward. Just like to express that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And anyone else? Okay, any comment or responses to the public comment from the commissioners?
Yeah,
Yes.
to address a couple of Jessica's issues. I've been to the distillery when they've had big events like the Arts Council events, and there is parking in the back and in the front. But the Chadies keep they keep the fields very well groomed, and I don't see that the grass is being degraded. You don't see mud.
Janet, I don't mean to interrupt you, which I just
Oh.
did. Sorry.
Okay.
But would that be better held for our discussion
That's fine,
afterwards
whatever.
as a
Okay.
commissioner? Thank
That's
you.
fine.
Yeah. Unless you had a specific question for someone or of the Chadies or anything.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else from the public? Lou, Mr. Chady, if you would like to either make a final statement, which may or may not include any responses to some of the public comments, that's up to you. However you want to end off here on the hearing.
Yes, thank you. I would. The first thing I'd like to address is consumption here. Obviously, that's a major concern of ours, the safety of the neighborhood, the safety of our patrons, safety to everyone. In the 7 years we've operated, we've never had an instance of someone being overserved and leaving intoxicated. Our staff are TIPS trained. That's a professional designation where they are they're taught to recognize signs of overconsumption and how to handle people that have overconsumed and to mitigate any problems like that. With regards to the acoustic music, on the form that we fill out with the state, it says acoustic music only. If we were to do other types of music or other types of acts, we would have to permit for that as well. With regard to our parking situation, yes, when we do extend for large events like that, we do bring them out into the field. However, we also have rain dates. If it is going to be inclement and it is going to be with heavy rains, we're not going to bring cars out onto the field. We'll cancel or postpone the event. Our parking lot has been very well maintained. There's no sedimentation that's going out into the road or into any waterways. So I would just like to thank the others that came out in support of us. I think we have been good neighbors here. In our demographic, going back to consumption, we don't do drink specials. So we're not having someone knock back drink after drink after drink. Our average customer has about 2 drinks, if that. We also have non-alcoholic options for them. Though we can't serve prepared food, we can have packaged food. And we do offer snacks, cheese, crackers, chips, things like that. To extend beyond that, we would have to get a restaurant permit to provide any other sort of food as well. And also our demographics. I mean, we're largely 35 to 54 and 54 and up. We're not bringing in college kids. We're not doing drink promotions to entice them in, game nights, things like that. We run a very conservative facility here, and we're very cognizant of the neighborhood and our neighbors, and try to be respectful of that. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. And okay, yeah, those 4 items there. All right. Anything else from the commissioners at this point? I want to thank everyone, both in the community and the Chadys as the applicant for attending the hearing, giving us clarification, answering our questions, and allowing us to move forward. At this point, with no one requesting other types of information along those lines, so we can have our discussion, we'll close the hearing at this point. And again, I thank both Margaret and Louis Chady, as well as the members of the public for giving their input. That's what this is all about, is gaining input from the citizens. So we close the hearing. Thank you very much. Moving on to the unfinished business of the commission. First item is the POCD update. And I can be brief on that. I think, well, Janet and Mark are here for the commission. I think, is Mark still here? Oh, yes, there he is. I'm sorry. We have just my quick update is the subcommittee is tireless in meeting almost every week. And they do a lot of work on their own to bring to the meeting. So I really appreciate all their efforts. We've nearly completed the element section where we've reached out to each of the agencies to provide us with a fresh narrative regarding their agency, along with Planning and Zoning Commission influenced goals and objectives, as well as the agency-specific goals and objectives they hope to do. We have started writing and editing our introduction, including some visionary items as well as goals and objectives for the town as a whole that we have gained information on from our surveys as well as our listening session that we held back at the end of March. We've also will be working with Tyke for the statutory requirements, updating of tables, charts, and luckily we have Christina Sebo on our subcommittee, who's a professional photographer, and she'll be updating a number of the photos from some of the towns gems that we have out here to share and put into the POCD. We're also editing the sections of the town of Ashford, describing it, making sure everything's up to date and accurate. We also, and I'll get into this in a second, having to do with economic development. But we'll also be working on our plan implementation, how we'll be rolling that out, and how we hope to address it. Things such as regular updates with this, along with input from various departments through the lifespan, the 10-year lifespan of the plan, not just a one and done type of thing. See you again in 10 years. We've identified the 5 main priorities from our citizens for Ashford, and we'll be including that, as well as ideally identifying a top 10 PZC initiatives to have a result on over the life of the plan. Some items might take a year, some items might take the full 10 years. We don't know, but these are items that we feel are important for the PZC to continue to work on and come to fruition. The only other item that I just want to share before I turn it over to the other members is the good news is that the current plan, though it says 2015 to 2025 and had a July goal, I believe it was Janet in looking through some of the state statutes and the requirements there, recognized the fact that we actually did not get approved from OPM until January of 2016. So we've got a bit of wiggle room in here, for lack of a better term, wiggle room. Well, we will have a document, or we plan to have a document, something that we can show and share with the Planning and Zoning Commission, along with starting to present it to our Board of Selectmen and then ultimately to the public by July would be great. So we've got about somewhere in the range of 2 months to put together a document for review. We have the regulatory requirement because of the dates and the number of days prior to be submitted to NECOG and things like this will probably be a September, but it still puts us in compliance. We're not out of compliance. We're not jeopardizing the potential for any grants to be applied our way because we don't have this in place with that January date. But we don't want to lose any of the momentum that we have. Again, we won't have a fully approved plan by July, but we hope to have the document in place for July and then work through that over August and September in order to have a one for having it submitted and having all the requirements of the 30 and 65 days and things like that in order to have a document for that September, late September, maybe early October dating. So that being said, I hope I didn't steal all the thunder. Janet or Mark, did you have any input?
No, I think you did a great job of covering it, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you covered everything, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, I'll try and shut up next time, let you guys talk. Okay, that being said, anyone ever wants to sit in on any of the sessions from the members of the commission or the public for that matter, we have our dates, our POCD subcommittee dates are posted, our minutes are posted from our meetings. And so again, feel free if you want to see how the sausage is made. Moving on to commission review. Now Mike gets to talk a lot. The IID Special Development District, the draft, we had asked Mike to go back and look at a couple of things on that. Mike, do you want to start talking and share some stuff?
Sure. So one of the items that had been discussed at the last meeting was trying to identify approximately the number of parcels that are eligible. So the current regulation has 35 acres as the parcel size. And so I looked at the eligibility standards as written and went through the 3 zoning designations that are applicable, because again, the RA zone is not eligible. So we're talking IID, commercial zone, and the technology zone as the 3 commercial areas. So I went through and I pulled some screenshots, which I can share. And we can see what it looks like. I'm a little bit limited with what information I can show on the GIS in a manner that is like easy enough to kind of grab or show to everybody else. But these are the 3 sections. So the reason why, so the first, let me see here. The first snip is the IID zone area. So the parcels on the left side of the highway are eligible in their size, and they are contiguous through their land that's in union with State Road. I have them all highlighted, even though the smaller ones are not 35 acres because they're contiguous and under common ownership. So I felt like it was worth showing that, because that's a simple dissolving of the property lines, and that would all then be eligible. The parcels on the right side of the highway there, the IID along Ference, you see on the right side, 84, do not meet the minimum standards, so that wouldn't be eligible. But I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Moving on, the next piece here is the general commercial zone. So this is at the intersection of 74 and 44, running down towards the town hall and Cumberland Farms. So you'll see that there are 3 parcels that exceed 35 acres, one of which is the church, which is all the way on the right. No, sorry, the town housing. So that obviously is not going to be developed as some type of commercial development. I wouldn't guess. So then that leaves the 2 parcels there, which you're seeing here as being eligible because they have the frontage and the minimum size, and they're in the commercial zone. The last is the technology zone, which is on 44 at the Willington town line, which is largely the Kettle Rock property. And so one of those parcels, the largest, which is in the town's ownership, is eligible. The others are not. So again, this is at the 35 acre size, which gets us total townwide 9 parcels, is what I've calculated. Jeff asked just to see the difference to also look at 25 acres. So I did look at that, and that essentially changes it, I think, by 1. So there's a 1 additional parcel, which is the church property in the general commercial, again, the 74-44 intersection, which becomes eligible. There's a few parcels along here that are close, that are like 1 or 2 acres shy, but are like 23 acres or something, 21 acres, but aren't at the 25. The IID zone, nothing changes. It's still the same eligibility. And so then we pick up 1 additional parcel with the technology development. So that 1 property, I think it's 26 acres or something, maybe a little bit more. So in totality, it's either 8 parcels at 35 acres and 10 at 25, or 9 and 11. I can't remember exactly, but there's essentially 2 additional parcels that get picked up. If you reduced it further, you might get a couple, but I think in totality, unless you went to something less than 18 acres, you're looking at like a dozen parcels townwide total. That would be, again, eligible. Would still have to go through the whole process, but all the other parcels in town don't meet the standards, so they couldn't even seek an application.
Thank you for that exercise in futility, Mike. I appreciate it.
No, I think it was, it was good to see. I mean, I think if we found that there was only one or two parcels that were eligible, it probably wouldn't be useful to adopt an entire zoning regulation for it. So it'll be up to the commission to decide how many parcels you think ought to be eligible. And if you think it's 35, should it be 25? Should it be less? And I guess I'd just remind you that, we're just workshopping this. This hasn't gone to public hearing. This hasn't been referred to regional agencies. So once that process starts, you can always go up in acreage, but you couldn't go down. So you could decide to send it to public hearing at 15 acres and then move it up to 20, 25, 30, or 35. But if you send the text to public hearing at 35 acres and you decide, there's not really very many parcels, we really would prefer to go to 25, we would have to renotice it to go down because we'd sort of be expanding the scope of the amendment. So if you're unsure, I would suggest you start lower because you can always increase once the hearing is open.
And you said under or down to 18, but just about a dozen, correct?
Yeah, I don't see us getting to a point. Let me just verify. So there's let me do it this way. I'm going to show you and then I'll compare it to the GIS so you can see. Share. Okay. So hopefully you can see the general commercial.
Yep.
So the parcel that's right at the intersection of town, or right at the intersection of 74 and 44 that isn't in the eligibility is around 18 and change. And then the two larger parcels on the south side of 74 that are kind of off the road a ways are both, one is a little over 20 and one's a little over 23. So if you brought it, you'd have to bring it, if you brought it to 18 acres, you'd pick up an additional 3. If you brought it to 20, you'd pick up an additional 2. And then the TD zone, none of those parcels, none of the other parcels are even close to being eligible. So really, it's just a matter of, those essentially those 3 pieces of property at the 74-44 interchange that, depending on if you reduced it, could become eligible, but you'd have to get like to 10 or less to start picking up any substantial number other than that. So it's this, I don't know if can you see my cursor?
Yes.
So this parcel is about 18 and change.
Yep.
This parcel is about 20 and change. And this parcel is about 23 and change. Now you can see here, this is a big wetland and stream, right? So just because it is meeting the standards for eligibility for the size does not mean that any of it, all of it, a portion of it is even developable. But these are all less than 25, so it would not be eligible unless you reduced it beyond that.
For that matter, does any part of that large area where your cursor is, that little L shape, the large L shape, I should say, does any part of that along the state road?
So I think you can kind of see it comes all the way across to where the R in
right there,
Ashford.
yeah. Uh-huh.
So that's where it gets its road frontage.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Okay. Comments from the commission?
Just thank you, Mike.
No problem.
And again, I just thank you, Jen. I just remind the commissioners that, what we're looking at here is that special development zone where it can be applied. The hoops that folks have to jump through, it gives us some direction as to where development can take place and how it takes place. Well, where it can take place kind of are the first three variances, the requirements, and then it turns into what can go into there, and that'll be up to us in the long run. But yeah, thank you very much, Mike, for that. Thanks for going through that exercise. Okay. Did you have another input regarding this development zone?
So other than that, we didn't discuss making any additional changes or modifications to the text. I didn't, and I didn't get any comments or questions or anything from anybody. So nothing else has been changed. At the
Okay.
last meeting, I talked about some of the additional site design standards that we included related to stormwater, and other things. So those were shown at the last meeting and are obviously still in there.
Yep.
So let me I can review quick if you want the actual eligibility section, just so that you can see where we are with the current language. So for eligibility, so we're calling this the Planned Rural Development District. So we're saying that the PRDD may be applied to a parcel or parcels of land, provided the following criteria have been met. Parcels shall be at least 35 acres in size. Parcels shall have frontage on, be contiguous with, or accessible by state highway, be designated on the official zoning map as general commercial, technology development, or IID. So the one thing that I'll clarify is, so looking at, let me use the technology development zone as an example. I'm going to share my screen again. What I didn't map, because it would be sort of not possible to really show. So hopefully you can see again, this is the technology, this development zone, this is Kettle Rock. So we have the parcels that are kind of along, the smaller parcels that are along the road are, with the exception of the larger one in the middle that has the two connections to the road. The other four that are there are well, let's say the three. So hopefully you can see my cursor. There's three parcels that are here.
Yep.
And they are each about 10 acres. So I don't know what let's say they're each 11 or 12, just to be, for the purpose of the exercise. What I can't map, but is possible, I guess, is if somebody was able to find the owners or whatever of three contiguous parcels, purchase them all, they're already zoned, they would combine them all into one large parcel that would have 30 something acres and have road frontage, right? So there's no way for us to know if somebody will be so lucky as to, buying multiple parcels all together and making them one large parcel. However, the universe is still fairly small, right? Because it still has to be within one of these commercially zoned areas.
Right.
They're not going to be buying land in the RA zone and saying, okay, I've got my 35 acres. The land has to still be zoned IID, general commercial, or technology. So could somebody buy all the parcels along 74 and combine them all into one mega parcel and say, I've got my 35 acres? Yes. But they couldn't buy a big piece of property. Let's take, one of these smaller parcels down here. They couldn't buy some small piece of property and tack it onto some big, RA zone property or something and say, okay, I've got my 35 acres. So I don't want to make you believe that there's not an opportunity for another parcel to show up. I think it's possible if somebody were to be able to get all the owners to sell them the land. But again, we're still talking a really small universe because all the parcels would have to be in this GC, IID, or TD zone.
Right.
Uh,
Now, if someone did have a RA, since we're going through hypotheticals here, if someone did have an RA, in conjunction to a piece of one of these commercial zones,
Yep.
like at the intersection there, they could seek a zoning change, correct?
Yeah, so let's say that somebody wanted to buy these 3 parcels, and that in total they equaled 36 acres. They could do that, but still wouldn't be eligible because these 2 are RA. So yes, they would first have to come in and seek a zone change from you to general commercial, and then come back and get the eligibility approved to then
Right.
ask your permission to apply under the PRDD.
Right.
So you would know, you know, that they were seeking that zone change. They would have to, yeah, add that parcel to the eligibility. It wouldn't
Right.
be a surprise application.
Right. Right. And I guess the other question I had, I know we had mentioned at least one change, which was the low impact design. Where do you see that being added under the master plan approval under 1, 2, or 3?
So that was included.
Maybe I'm looking at an old copy here. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So it was included under 2B, and 2B double I, a conceptual site plan depicting the proposed schematic design for the site, including, and we added a new Roman numeral 4, which says the provision for low impact development techniques to the extent practicable, which provide for the catchment, treatment, and improvement of stormwater generated from the proposed development.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I think I'm looking at an older copy here. Sorry. Um, any input from commissioners? What do we think about this? What, I'm trying to we're basically trying to give Mike some direction here. And I like what I've seen so far. Janet, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have two questions. One is, since the Planning and Zoning Commission changes, every 2 years, we have new members. And I'm just thinking like 6 or 10 years from now, if there's all new members of the commission and maybe Tyke is no longer working with us, does this give enough guidance so that future commissioners would understand what we're trying to do? I guess that's a question for Mike.
So, part of that is what we try to set up in the purpose and vision statements,
Right.
Which we could certainly expand if you had, additional points that you wanted us to make in there. Right now, I'll just read it. For vision, it says the overall vision for the PRDD is one that balances the need for flexibility in exchange for a higher quality design and a diversity of buildings and uses. Developments within the PRDD should demonstrate a strong focus on a site layout that makes the best use of the physical characteristics of the property in a manner that is both supportive of economic development and is in harmony with the site's environmental characteristics. But if you felt like there was certain points, like I said, that you wanted to make, or we wanted to expand that further, we could certainly add more to that. And then, do you want me to read the purpose statement?
I was just going to say, yeah, Mike, why don't you touch upon, since you touched upon the vision, why don't you touch upon the purpose also?
The purpose is the town of Ashford has identified that the town's rural nature and pattern of development has led to the presence of multiple large parcels, all of which possess unique development potential. Given the increased complexity of developing large parcels in a manner that is consistent with both the town's development and conservation goals, the commission hereby establishes the planned rural development district. Each PRDD district shall be a special development district applied in accordance with the provisions below. So one of the distinctions here is that the IID, the technology zone, the RA, the general commercial, those zones are traditional Euclidean style zoning, which means they treat every single parcel in those zones exactly the same. And the benefit that we're trying to sort of hone in on here is that what you may find appropriate at Cattle Rock or on 74 in the GC zone or in the IID zone by 84, just because they're all part of this PRDD or ultimately become part of it, does not mean that because they have the same zoning designation, what's appropriate on one parcel is appropriate on another. So you're really looking at the parcel itself and coming up with a development that is appropriate for the parcel rather than trying to create a zone that is sort of consistent across the board and treating every single parcel the same. So you may find that a 25 foot setback is appropriate on one parcel, but 125 feet is what you need on another.
Okay, and the vision and the purpose have legal standing in the regulations.
Yeah, so when you are making the decision to cite the PRDD on a property, you're acting in your legislative capacity as essentially having a lot more discretion in your ability to say yes or no. So if you feel as though the concept plan submitted as part of the application does not capture the vision and the intent of the zone, then you are under no legal obligation to say, yes, your zone change is thereby approved. So you will determine if the application has correctly implemented the purpose and vision of the reg.
All right, well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
I think that works. You don't want to make it too specific and tie people down. I have another question sort of for the commissioners. When the town, many members of the town have expressed unwillingness to have a warehouse or a large warehouse. And we are listing it as one of the allowable uses. And I was just wondering if people feel that that we're not listening to the town by doing that, or that we have enough protections so we could make it so that it was acceptable to people if somebody comes in with that kind of request.
Excellent question. Again, I think the requirements that we have above and beyond simply here's, as Mike was saying, here's the parcel, here's our regs on that parcel, make it fit. When it comes down to the narrative statement of in the master plan, the intent, the proposed uses, the building size, how it fits in with the POCD, all the conceptual site plans, everything that we require on that, it gives us a little bit more teeth, more exacting teeth than just rural character as an overall statement. When it comes to warehousing, I guess what are we talking about with warehousing? I mean, what are they looking to do? Is it data services warehousing they're doing, which has very little environmental impact, obviously? Um, is it the warehousing of jet aircraft engines or something? I think it gives us that versatility, that ability to look at the nature of the application itself and what's going in there. So, I think a general feeling that warehousing is not right, and especially when we're putting it on the state roads themselves. I mean, it's not on some backwoods road. It's somewhere that we should be able to put it that can meet the low impact design. Um, I don't know. I think just general warehousing is not a the boogeyman term that people consider it to be depending on how you use it. Other thoughts? Nor, did you want to say something?
Well, the last time when we had this problem, our regs protected us to the satisfaction of the people in town. And I don't think we need to change our regs.
So you're not in favor of putting this in? Is that what you're saying?
Repeat that.
I was just saying, we're not taking a vote here or anything, but what's your feeling on this developmental zone?
I think our regs as they are stand now are satisfactory.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that statement. We're sitting at a point where things like rural character doesn't protect us anymore. Um, we need to be sure that we allow for proper economic development. We need economic development to happen, or else this town is just going to disappear, both from people living here and our ag business, our farmers and things like this. They need something for relief. But again, this process gives us the ability to review and accept the services, the group that wants to come in here and develop and how they develop, without just simply, saying 1 million square feet is too large or 250,000 square feet is not the right size. What is it do you want to do? Like I said, if it's a data center that allows us to, not have a lot of environmental impact, that's not a bad thing to take place, with the location and the size of some of these parcels that we have that potentially could be commercially used. Especially if we don't have to change the text amendments and the zoning that we have in place in those locations. It's just a better way of seeing that plan come in. And that's just kind of my feeling on it. But
Okay.
Mike,
what,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janet.
I just want to say thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge what the town people have told us. And I do agree that we can have regulations that would protect us and that we do need new ones, I think. I think this can work out well. So thank you.
Thank you. I think we're just sitting back on some general statutes and general regulations that are not meeting the modern day or for the future, for that matter. As you said, the people here now are not going to be on this commission forever, and having a good base for the young whippersnappers coming in after us would be a good legacy for us to do. So Mike, what do you think of next steps on this? What input do you need from us? where do we go?
Yeah, so, and I just want to clarify, there was a little bit of a nuance to the, prior iterations of applications for text amendments and other things related to the IID. And one of the things that was also requested of the commission was ultimately to establish and look at the uses, because there was a little bit of lack of clarity with warehousing and what uses are allowed in those zones. And so the general commercial zone already allows manufacturing, wholesale, and distribution. And so part of the prior application was to clarify what is distribution, and is distribution different than warehousing. A distribution use could be significantly more impactful from a traffic standpoint, depending on the operator and a bunch of yada yada. But warehousing is storing things in a building, right? So if someone wants to put up a building and they want to store a bunch of stuff in it, that's very minimal when it comes to the types of traffic and all those other things, right? So the distribution portion is already included in our allowable uses. That's on the books and has been. So I want to just make that note, because I don't want, to Janet's point, people to think that we've just decided to craft this whole regulation sort of to fly in the face of any public feedback. We're using existing language that's in the regulations in terminology. I'm trying to use terms that people understand, so that we don't get into a discussion about, well, I think this word means this and this word means that. But yeah, those are uses contained within the regulations currently. So as far as next steps, again, I think the commission should just make a quick decision on if you want to keep the eligibility at 35 acres or reduce it or whatever. And then the next step would be scheduling, making the sort of formal determination to turn this into an application. I would refer it out and we'd schedule the hearing for, if I could get it for June, it would be for June. If not, it would be for July.
Okay, so the point on the table here again, I don't know if it makes a hill of beans to this. I was just trying to get an idea of the sheer size we were dealing with here. So do we stay with the 35 acre lot size in the commercial IID and TDZ areas? Do we expand it to, or actually reduce it down to 25, which gets us again to about 10 or 11 parcels that qualify at this point? And Mike, you had said, I'm just trying to get this right. We can go down, we can't go up. Is that right?
If you set it at 25, you can increase it to 35, but you can't set it at 25 and reduce it to 15.
Oh, so we can go up, we can't go down.
Yeah.
Because you can narrow the scope of the amendment. And so by increasing the size of the parcels, you're going to reduce the total universe of eligibility. So you
Right.
can narrow in that
Right.
way.
What's the feeling of the
I-
commission?
I think it would be a good idea to start at 25 and see what the public thinks. I think this actually gives us more power to regulate what's going on. So maybe we should do it for 25 acre parcels.
25. So we want to put a motion to vote on that? Not knowing if we have to or not, but I just think it's easier to get the input from the group here.
I'll move that.
Janet
We-
moves to make it a 25 acre requirement in the the Planned Rural Development District, PRDD. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jerry seconds it. Any further discussion? All those in favor of making the acreage requirement for the parcel and the site eligibility to 25 acres, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
Mark, okay. Mark is still muted.
Was he trying to say something?
I don't know. I guess not.
All right. So does that help, Mike?
Yeah, so if we're good with sort of everything else, I have to finalize all the red lines, and there's a couple of sections that I just need to kind of make sure all the formatting and all the verbiage and stuff is aligned with our current regs, and then I can refer it to NECOG and CROG and schedule the hearing. I don't know if we'll have enough time to do it for the June meeting.
Yep.
But unless folks think that there's additional workshopping that needs to be done, then I'll turn it into a real application, and we'll get it scheduled for the next soonest public hearing.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So I buried my agenda here. One second. The heck, Jeff?
The next thing was just to continue to review the application form
Yes.
checklist.
Yes,
Um,
I know. I've just lost my piece of paper. Anyway, okay, thank you. So discussion. Oh, here it is under here. Discussion regarding the PZC 25-1 special permit application per section 300-17C to allow for alcohol consumption on outdoor patio and live entertainment, 196 Chady Road, known as Westford Hill Distillers. We've had our hearing. Now we're up for discussion. Janet, I've been dying to hear what else you had to say. I didn't mean to cut you off. Hopefully you can remember.
No, Louis actually covered most of what I was going to say. I was just saying that the parking areas are green with grass. As he said, I don't see any runoff or sediment. And the times I've been there, people are very respectful. Nobody's over consuming. The servers will make you a very light drink or a non-alcoholic drink. I know people who, do both. And I think they can help address some of the music. I know lots of times when they've had music, they've played it under a roof so that it wouldn't, I would think it wouldn't carry as far. So that was all I was going to say.
Acoustic music doesn't carry very far.
Yeah, and again, attending the events that I've been there, it's always been to the back of the building, acting as a further buffer out into their valley, as opposed to out onto the street and then out from there. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, and Lou did kind of go over this, is that, the alcohol, and from what Jessica Bates had identified, the alcohol is all sold. It's never served during their tasting room times. It's not something that is just served to offer freely to folks. I've never seen tossing out free drinks or samplers or tastings, true tastings or anything. Like at a wine location, some places they'll pour you the first taste or a sampler or something, and then you can purchase more. This is simply, you buy to taste. You don't necessarily get a free tasting going on. And all of that follows the state regulations for liquor consumption at the location itself. And as Lou said, the acoustic part was on not only the state application, but it's stated on his application here with the town for the zoning permit. that it would be acoustic. And I could say I'm a short distance away. I have never seen a backup on the road or anything causing a traffic issue or a access issue. The parking has always been up and onto the regular parking area or the extended parking area. I've never seen a backup there to the point where it causes any type of traffic issue. Just in my own anecdotal input. Uh, Others to share? Hearing or seeing any? Uh, is there a motion?
I have one that I've put together if you want me to.
Yeah, Mike, please share that.
So I sort of reviewed some similar applications to try to put together something that's suggested, which you can workshop. I don't know if it's big enough. So the first two are the findings. Number two is related to the application materials and the waiver of additional materials under 323. Condition one is that the use remains accessory, which is a standard. Outdoor entertainment shall be acoustic only. Any future expansion of the outdoor patio area or changes to the type of entertainment shall require review by the commission, and hours of operation shall not be later than 10:30. So that didn't get discussed directly in looking at their information, the website. They don't even operate anywhere near that, but this was the limit that was placed on other applications. So, I am putting it on there for your consideration. You can remove it or, whatever, but I'm just trying to pull relevant conditions for you to sort of take a look at.
When it comes to the hours of operation, we know that I think 7 o'clock is most of the endings of the tasting room. And most of their uh, acoustic concerts and such have been, on the afternoons and no later than. Um, would we be, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Inconsistent if we change that 10:30? Would we be too restrictive, more restrictive than what we've done for others? Is that what you're kind of alluding to?
No, the last set of hours of operation that you approved was a condition that it not exceed be later than 10:30.
Okay. All right. On a different application, you're saying.
Correct. So they don't operate any later than that without, and so, their information shows 7 p.m. They could go to 8 or 8:30 if they wanted to. So, you could include it at 7, but then if they wanted to go to 8 o'clock on a Saturday night in the summer when it's still light out, then they would be restricted. So I was trying to establish a baseline that was consistent with applications on other properties in town, and what you had looked at and established was a 10:30 p.m.
And under the hours of operation, that's really, what time they remain open, because I know they do, the private events and things like that. So, but does that fall under this change where it
This
doesn't have,
this would
it
be
simply would
sort of
have the
all
outdoor patio,
inclusive.
obviously.
This would be all inclusive. It would be
Okay.
operating hours.
All right. So that makes sense. It's not just the concerts and things like that. We're talking about the total operation. Okay.
And if down the road that needed to be changed, they would, they could come back and ask for it to be modified.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Um, The commission was provided deemed the commission is not required in accordance with section. Okay. Okay. So number 2 is really the piece regarding the exemption from the further requirements under special permit.
Right. The other, potential materials that if the commission chooses to, issue the waiver, you're deeming to not be necessary.
Okay. All right. So those two conditions, the approval of the application as well as the exemptions of certain requirements.
Right.
Okay. So Jerry, is this your motion?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'll
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Janet.
Janet seconds it. Any further discussion? Okay, so seeking a vote. All those in favor of the approval of the application as well as the exemption of requirements, please signify by saying aye.
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 1, 2, 3, 4, at least. Steve, I need to know if you're voting, if you
Oh,
voted.
I said aye. I was on top of everybody else. Yep.
Yeah, you were muted, so we didn't see it. I still had it there. And Mark, are you on the conversation here? Okay, so I guess Mark will have to be an abstention. So that would be a 5 in favor, a 0 against, and 1 abstention at this point. So, and that being 5 out of 6 voting members, the requiring a 2/3 majority, that passes for both the exemption as well as the application. Louis Margie, congratulations. If you're still listening, I imagine you are. And thank you for the input. Finishing the new business, zoning officer report. Mike, do you have anything?
Just one zoning matter that we sort of, I think I discussed a little while ago with the commission, but we've taken it as far as we can as staff. So it's been referred over to Ken, and he sent a letter urging them to do the right thing and follow the regulations. We've been working on that. And I think that's kind of the only thing actionable at this point.
Is that something for an executive session next time?
If we don't get, after I've done everything I can do, we typically then have Ken send a letter that says, listen, we don't really want to have to go any further with this. Can you please just do what the zoning regulations require? Just bring your property into compliance. And so it's this sort of this one hopeful shot across the bow, informing them that, you know, these are the requirements. So if that does not bear any fruit, then yes, it will be a matter for a future executive session. Yes.
And do you have a response date on that so we know if it's going to be in June or not?
Yep, I can get you the date. So that they have a response date of come on, next week.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. So you're talking sometime for the week of the 19th.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll have to do a reinspection at that point and determine, did they
Yep.
comply? Have they verify if they've reached out to Ken or what the status is? And
So
then
we'll
if
have
not-
we'll have more complete information for June.
right. Or hopefully they just complied and then we're all happy and go home.
Okay. We can all eat
Stay
fruit.
tuned.
Anything from the commission for the zoning officer?
Nord has his hand up.
Yep, Nord.
Yeah, Mike, I was wondering if you have any information on what's going on Route 74 where they're clearing all that land. Has any permit applications been taken out, or what kind of enterprise is going to go in there?
I don't have any information on that. I know a couple of people have called, but the only thing that I know is that I'm just going to verify so I don't misspeak.
When you say people have called, not the people building there, but townsfolk, is that what you're talking?
Yeah, people, people
Yeah.
have just reached
Curiosity.
out. Money,
Yep.
correct. So that property was purchased in January. The 18 or 19 acres, it was purchased in addition to the building at 32 Knott Highway. So those are in common ownership at this point. We have no approvals at this point. They've just done some land clearing. They haven't submitted anything. So yeah, the current owners of 32 Knott Highway, which is that commercial building that's on the left there as you come to that intersection, it sits up higher than the road. I don't know the name of the company that's there. So it's a small piece of property. They purchased that acreage there. So it's all now owned by those folks. And they've owned that building for over 20 years.
Yep. Okay. Yes, Janet.
I have a question. Mike, you had told us, I forget, maybe last month, that the fees, the building permit fees aren't covering costs. And I was wondering, can we ask you to come up with a new fee schedule that would, you think would cover the costs? Are we the ones who do that, or?
Yeah, so I have to look at the ordinance to see if you guys have the ability to adopt adjustments or if it would have to be made as a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. But yeah, I started to pull the sort of historic fees from the legal notices to get a sense of what our average costs are for that. And then from there, that'll give us a sense of what our break even is. And so, yeah, we can pull some suggestions together to what the minimum would need to be to at least break even and not lose money.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the commissioners? That being said, and seeing no hands waving at me, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Jerry, motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Janet, I'll second.
Janet seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Greatly appreciated. And be safe. Have a nice spring. Go mow your lawns. Well, no, it's no mow May. I didn't say that, Janet. I did not say that. And again, thank you for your attention and your commitment. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Later.